Well, let me tell you something, brother. Welcome to the Real Weird Sickos podcast. My name is Charles Kahn, the Masked Bastard. With me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Jenna.
Hello.
Hi, Jenna.
Hi.
We're coming live from Weirdsville, Sicko Town, USA. With us is our guest, very special guest.
Yes.
Hello, guest.
Oh, hello. What? Who am I?
Who is this guy, Charles?
To some people, he's a real famous podcast guy, the Create Unknown's Kevin Lieber. To other people, he might be the Vsauce guy. Maybe you saw that TED Talk he did. It's a real good TED Talk. Everybody talks about that TED Talk.
It's not true.
Yes.
Some people think of him as the Vsauce fella, Mr. Vsauce 2.
Yes. How are you today, Kevin?
Just like Terminator. Everybody likes Terminator 2 better.
I'm good. Well, yeah, that's true. Terminator 2 is better. It's a lot more exciting. Terminator 1 is
Godfather
still good.
2,
It's
Terminator 2, Star Wars 2.
T2
There's a
is
lot
the
of 2s that are good.
It is. I love it. I think it's the best action movie of all time, actually. I'm okay to say that.
It is, but have you seen what Edward Furlong looks like nowadays?
Oof. I haven't seen him since that Crow sequel. There's a Deep Crow sequel that they would play on the Sci-Fi Channel a lot. And I love trash, so I watch the Sci-Fi Channel all the time when and now it's just a hotel. Hotels are the only place I'm exposed to TV. Hotels are old people's houses. That's the only place I'm exposed to cable TV now and flip the channels.
Yeah.
And the Sci-Fi Channel is always the first one I want to find because they play garbage, and I love it. It's so good. And there's a Deep Crow sequel. I don't know if it's Crow 3, Crow 4, but it has Edward Furlong in it, and my man looks as though he has been run through the ringer and is just as haggard as anybody's ever been.
Like he's been doing some things. Maybe
Even
not
with the
things
crow
that
paint.
are legal. There's a
Even
picture
with
of
the
him.
crow paint.
I have to find it. There's a picture of him and Ron Jeremy together at a bar, and it's just it's very special.
Does he look older than Ron?
Oh, he's living his best life, I hope as long as he's happy, I'm happy, really.
I think there's a couple of mug shots. He just, poor kid. You know what? I think it's just the Hollywood kid thing. But he didn't even know Michael Jackson, so he can't even do like the Corey Feldman thing.
Is Corey saying that Michael Jackson was a diddler, or is he anti-diddler?
He's saying he's very anti, which is really weird because he's so like pro Hollywood as diddlers,
right.
But like at the same time, like he's really like Michael's a saint. So who knows? Who really knows?
I kind of go back and forth on whether Michael did it or not. Like Michael Jackson, here's the thing, guys. If I had $1 billion and could build a theme park for sick kids to go to, isn't that a nice idea? That's a great idea.
He built it for him. You saw the episode of South Park.
Would not build it in my backyard. I don't know about that. I feel like that might have been the mistake. That feels a little weird. Like you're saying, Jen, it's more for him than it is for sick kids that don't want to go and experience Disney World with all the people and stuff like that. Well, because that was the pitch that I had heard.
His life was extremely, extremely strange. Did you ever see the video of him food shopping where they rented out a supermarket and I believe they may have filled it with actors just so other people were around, and they let him in for a bit to see what it was like to go food shopping.
Oh wow.
Imagine that. I mean, he was extremely famous since he was 5 years old?
Yeah.
Extremely famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jackson 5 were not nothing. They had hit song after hit song. And anybody in the world would want a career like that, where you just have, how many hit songs did the Jackson 5 have? 3, 4, 5?
A bunch. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, hit song after hit song, probably a couple of gold records. And, to have that success before you're 10, and then it just gets weirder as you get older, and then you become something even big. I remember being a little kid, and Jackson was the man. There was nobody bigger than him.
Yeah, nobody.
Have you seen the video of him? Have you seen the video of him in the 80s, and he hired Walt Disney World characters to come and dance with him at Neverland?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
The mascots were dancing with him?
Yeah, it was Mickey and Winnie the Pooh and Minnie and Pluto, and just they're at Neverland, and it's actual the official Disney World mascots, and it's He just hired him to hang out with him.
I know that he had a weird relationship with Sega, so it's come out for sure that he worked on Sonic 3. That he might not have touched the music himself, but he was the producer and like in the room working on it, because they've changed the music in this last re-release of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that they put out. They went in and done some changes. I don't know
why did
exactly.
they change it? For legal reasons?
I don't know if it's a legal thing. I don't know if it's a royalties thing, because they were always kind of coy with Sonic 3 for years, and they never wanted to answer the question definitively. But people that knew, like even his producer, come out and said, "Oh yeah, we worked on it." And I don't know why they were so weird about that. But
you don't know why they were so weird about that, really?
When Jackson passed, all of his arcades, he had tons and tons of arcade machines. Most of them were Segas. Those were going on sale on like auction sites. And I really thought about putting a bid in on one. There was I think it was a Turtles arcade that I was looking at that was $800. I was like, ooh, $800 for an arcade machine. I was like, yeah, but it come from Michael Jackson's house.
Ooh, you would need to really disinfect that. I'm sorry.
Then like 2 days later, it shot up to like $3,000. And I was like, all right, perfect. So I don't have to even think about it now. $800, I probably could have been like, oh, $800 for a Ninja Turtle. But arcade machines are so bulky and awful to move, and if one thing goes out on them, it's a bitch to change. Like it becomes this whole lifestyle being an arcade guy.
Did they sell his hyperbaric chamber? The only reason why I know that exists because of that Simpsons meme when he was like on Smartlight, and he goes, "It's believed that Homer it enhances his sexual powers." And then I learned that was a Michael Jackson thing, that he actually slept in a hyperbaric chamber, which is
I want to say it was a promotional photo for that the Disney thing, that Captain EO. He was like getting out of a sleep pod, and
I've seen Captain EO, and it's really, really, really cool. But like hyperbaric chambers are real, but they're mostly for people that need something healed. Because
athletes use them. I was just going to say, like, Michael Jackson got made fun of for that, but now tons of very famous athletes use that. I'm pretty sure LeBron James uses one.
Oh yeah, I saw Undertaker doing a thing like that,
where
where
those things where
his head's sticking out of this thing. Like it's like a cold chamber.
If you have an injury, well, that's different. That's a cold chamber. A hyperbaric chamber is just pure oxygen. There's nothing else in the air. It's pure oxygen. You actually can't stay in there for very long because the pure oxygen kind of burns a little bit. Like some people, when they're in hyperbaric chambers if it's doctor prescribed, like if they do it. They used to do it a lot for people that had a lot of smoke inhalation. So if they were in a house fire and they were damaged from smoke inhalation, they would go sit in a hyperbaric chamber for like an hour. But you really can't handle like that much, because when it's like pure air like that, like they put their shirts like over their noses because it burns. It's a real thing.
I think, and I was confusing the hyperbolic. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Hyperbolic chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Hyperbolic chamber. I'm confusing that with those floating tanks that you go in and have weird visions. The altered states tanks. What do they call those things?
No, I think they are just called like float tanks.
Yeah, you go in, Jen, and it's I think it's salt water that you lay in. And it's completely pitch black, so it cuts out all of your senses, and you lay in there, and some people report going on adventures. Like they go, an altered state of consciousness, because you can't feel anything, you can't smell anything, you can't see anything.
Sensory deprivation tank is also what
so
they're
it's
called.
basically just a jankum trip, but clean.
And Altered States was the movie where the guy was able to de-evolve himself with one of those into a gorilla
That movie
monster.
is insane. If anyone's never seen that movie, that's a crazy movie. Altered States. Watch Altered States. Enjoy.
Wait, who's in it?
I love crazy movies. Actors.
I'm looking at it. Well, come on, like you know what I mean. Oh, it's an 80s movie. You know what? It's just like I'm kind of mad. I'm actually kind of mad, and I think.
What are you mad at?
I think Kevin might be mad for the same reason. There's only one anime that I like.
Only one?
Really, that I actually really
All right,
that it
I'm gonna guess
stood the
Vampire
test of
Hunter
time.
D.
No.
Let's say Go-Go 13, the assassin.
No, I don't think you're gonna be able to figure it out.
I'm gonna guess number 3. Oh man.
Try again.
Let's see. It's got to be an anime.
I just said it. He's
Fist
still
of the
trying
North
to
Star.
Now it's Trigun, and I guess Crunchyroll is doing like their own reboot of it, and they took everything. The whole thing with me with that was like the aesthetic, and
so you like the space western.
Yeah, and now it's just too spacey because they're trying to do like Vasha Stampede's like origin story, and I don't know if it's just, you know how sometimes where movies ended up being okay, they were just poorly advertised. I don't know if this is just poorly advertised, but there's something about the animation that's fucking me up a little bit. I can't put my finger on it. I'm just like, no.
If it's anything like the other Crunchyroll productions I've seen, like their in-house stuff, avoid. It makes me uncomfortable to look at the stuff that they're producing. And I can't figure out exactly what it is. Something about
it's 3D. The new Trigun is like 3D, but it's not CGI. It's like 3D, 2D.
Yeah.
So if that makes any sense.
Netflix put out some Godzilla cartoons that I was like, oh man, Godzilla in a cartoan, hell yeah.
I couldn't
watch them. It hurt me to watch. Like I felt it in my teeth.
I just don't like. Maybe it is like I think I'm just getting old. Like shit like that hurts my eyes. You ever just watch stuff and like. I do that with action movies nowadays. Like I can't watch like Marvel movies because they literally just hurt my eyes. I just sit there and I'm like,
all the jump cuts and the weird shaky cam.
Well, I can't believe how samey everything looks. I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about this as it relates to, I think, the last 3 trailers that I watched that I was pretty excited about for like big budget fantasy stuff. One was Willow. Another one was the Game of Thrones spinoff, and then, you know, more recently the Lord of the Rings show. Mm-hmm. And everything looks the same. It's like, I don't know. I read something about how when you shoot on digital, the people who are shooting don't pay too much attention to lighting, and because they can kind of fix it in post, sort of, because there's so much CG, and then they shoot raw, and then they just kind of color correct everything. I guess. I mean, I'm not a cinematographer, so I could be completely wrong about this, but this is a theory that I came across where I guess like people who shoot this stuff. They just don't really care that much about dynamic lighting. So everything looks kind of flat, and I don't know. I personally hate the way that it looks. Yeah. It looks,
I think back.
Cheesy.
Think back to when we were kids. Okay. So we're all about the same age.
We'll come back to that Game of Thrones prequel in a minute. I'm kind of pissed off about that.
Think about Kroll. Think about Dragon Slayer. Think about the first Willow. Think about like all those fantasy movies, the Lady Hawk. They all had a different look and a different vibe, but they were all fantasy. You know, just like these things here, like these new things.
Different color palettes.
Yeah,
different, because you have real sets. Like all of those had real sets. Yeah. We don't have real sets anymore.
We watched Predator the other day, and my partner looks at it and goes,
"A beautiful movie."
Man, the Predator looks so much better than any CGI monster I've ever seen in any of it. Because we just watched, we went through like 4 or 5 Marvel movies in a row, and I all I wanted to watch was the new Spider-Man. I was like, can we just watch the new Spider-Man? No, we haven't watched the last.
It's good,
4.
but it hurts my eyes.
We have to watch.
I couldn't stand it. It hurt my head. I was like, I can't do it.
We have to watch Black Widow and the other ones, and I can't even remember Eternals. It was so like long and boring. And we watched these all night long. It was the Shang-Chi and the Eternals, and it's just so exhausting watching all those. And then Spider-Man is just like, okay, now I'm up. This is the one movie I wanted to see the Spider-Mans, and it's just like, oh my god, what are they doing with these movies? Like it's too long, there's too much movie. Like cut out an hour.
Movie. I kind of do. I don't like the extra long. Unless it's really good and I don't know that it's been that long. Like if you trick me and you don't think it, I'm really like shocked that I've been sitting there for like 2.5 hours. That's fine. That plays sometimes, but sometimes it hits you in the middle of a movie going, all right, let me pause this. Oh my God, we still have an hour and a half. We've been watching this for an hour and a half. Like what possible story can we do? But like when I saw the new Game of Thrones prequel, like it looks kind of boring. Like like you said, it looks flat, and it looks almost like last season of Game of Thrones was just ugly. Like,
well, that one episode was so goddamn dark. I don't know what they were thinking. Whose idea was that? I just want to, like, what was the idea there? Let's make an episode where nobody can see what the hell's going on. Maybe they won't be mad.
They just gave up. The last season, they all knew it was shit, so they just gave up. They were like, you know what? I don't care.
Smoke on the Street was that those guys were getting ready to do Star Wars and were checked out. That was what people were saying, but I don't know how true that is. I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna make it to the show, you know, like I always say this about sports guys. Like, if you've worked your whole life to make it to the show, if you're a football player, like an offensive lineman, you're gonna work your ass off to stay there and be the guy and be as good as you can be, right? Why wouldn't you? Like, who gets to that position and just decides to coast? But then example after example of people going like, oh yeah, you know, I'm Robert De Niro. Let's make 50 bad movies. People love me.
Oh, no. Speaking of people who make bad movies, you guys know who Eric Roberts is, right?
Yeah.
Oh God. The most bad movies ever.
Have you seen his IMDb page?
No.
Oh God. It seems like he literally goes to like 3 different like B and C movie sets a day.
Yeah,
does like
he has to.
2
People remember
scenes
him
and bounces, and
best
then
of the best.
He's got like an IMDb page of like, I don't even know. Like, I will give you the exact number right now. Hold on, let me look at this.
He was the bad guy in that one the Stallone movie with Sharon Stone where they were like bombers. I think he was the bad guy in that one. And then
he does
like,
cameo now, by the way. Cameo.
Oh, of course he does. I bet you.
Every hustle.
You know, some guys, that's their whole life is I had this one thing and now
689 acting credits.
Conventions.
689 credits.
Like every Star Trek actor, if you were a bit player on a Star Trek, you can forever, like I'm sure the guy that played the Gorn, that big lizard monster, he's going out to conventions every weekend and just signing pictures of the Gorn, and that's his life.
What's your favorite Star Trek arc, Kevin? I know you like Star Trek.
I haven't watched really a whole lot of anything other than Next Generation. I really liked that. The other ones I haven't got into quite as much, but I don't really watch that much TV anymore. I kind of haven't for a while. I really kind of pick and choose what I watch. But I wanted to just mention real quick in terms of the long movies. I had read this thing, so I've been watching. What I do watch lately when I have time is old westerns because they're so short. They're like all 90 minutes, and the plot is extremely simple. The morals of all the characters are completely clear, and then the movie, you know, the bad guy gets shot and the credits roll, and it's great. But I'd read this thing about how I think the MCU really is the culprit here for all of these long movies because they're not allowed to just be a tight, closed story. They all have to bleed into one another. So that's why they're so long, is that, you know, it should only be an hour and a half, an hour 45, but then they have an extra hour setting up, you know, whatever this other spin-off movie is going to
be. This last Doctor Strange didn't really have a satisfying conclusion. It just sort of like, it's like a thing happens and he unlocks a new power, a new ability. Somebody shows up and takes him into the next movie. And it's like, well, what the hell is this? Like, this isn't an ending. This is chapter 2 of a story.
It's just hyping you to give them money for the next. That's it. That's all it is.
At this point, why don't they just make them TV shows? Because, you know, it's a comic book, so they're always forever stuck in Act 2.
Yeah, they tried to make a whole bunch of them, but like I think they're not doing well. Like on Disney Plus, like I don't think the TV shows are doing. I could be wrong about that, but they just seem so boring to me.
No, I was going to say it's so funny that you bring that up because I had heard that the Obi-Wan show on Disney Plus was a movie that they canned. They canned from being a movie. You know, maybe they didn't think it would perform well after whatever Star Wars stuff wasn't doing well in the box office. And they stretched that movie into, you know, an 8 episode show where, you know, if you go into that show under like thinking of it through that lens, watching it through that lens, like this should be like a 2 hour, maybe 2.5 hour movie. And instead it's an 8 hour show. It makes a lot of sense because of how just stretched and like really thin essentially all of the plot points are of that show. Like not much really happens.
At what point do they just not give up on it? Like they had Mandalorian success, but everything else is kind of like, when do we just let this die and come up with something new?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just like Mickey Mouse. I don't think Mickey Mouse will ever die. Popeye is going to come back at some point, I'm sure. Woody Woodpecker. There's going to be Woody Woodpecker again. It's going to come back again.
I guess the new resort in Orlando, the Star Wars, they're saying $5,000. It's not $5,000 a night. It's probably anywhere probably between $700 and $1,000, which is still a lot, considering it's Orlando. But I've seen some. It reminds me of Fyre Fest, because people have posted like pictures on Twitter of what the food is like. It's just it's run in the mill like Disney World food, which is awful. Like the actual like quick serve resort food is the worst. So that's it's the same stuff. It just looks all Star Warsy, and it's kind of like, I think they kind of...
Yeah, I heard there was some kind of weird hotel that was $5,000 a night or something.
I think it's $5,000 if you stay like a week, and then you have to add like all the... You have to add like the resort fees and stuff like that, because Disney likes to kind of pile those on. Like that, I think that's pretty much like anywhere, but I think they kind of jumped the gun a little bit, thinking that all the hardcores would go, yes, let's go.
I'm just not a theme park kind of guy. Like, I love all the Disney and Marvel garbage. Like, I'll watch it, I'll enjoy it, and move on with my life. But like Kevin's saying, these westerns, these old westerns that are, the time-tested story of, you've got the babyface good guy who's the underdog, who, one thing after another all stacks up against him. Mm-hmm. And then here's the bad guy who's the most son of a bitch. You're going to hate him. Like, he's mean to women. He kicks a dog. Just a son of a bitch bastard who you want to see get his. That storytelling of, the one good guy versus the one bad guy. Like, that's what you really need in these stories. And they're just not doing it.
Can you put Django in with a Western? It is technically a Western. I watched it again, I think last week. And I always forget how much I actually really love that movie a lot, because it has the best, goriest, shootout scene ever.
It goes
at the very end.
End.
That shootout scene at the end is probably the most badass of any movie.
If you enjoy that one, Jen, you should definitely watch The Wild Bunch, the ending of The Wild Bunch.
Didn't we talk about Bone Tomahawk last week too? Kevin, have you ever seen Bone Tomahawk?
We did talk about Bone Tomahawk.
No, I would like to. That's on my list of things to watch.
Definitely make sure you make time. Everybody listening, every real weird sicko out there needs to see the Bone Tomahawk. Yes. An incredible motion picture experience. Don't go into it with any expectations other than, this is a movie that I will probably like. That's the expectations of movies.
Well, what's doing well is stuff like true crime, which in a way, Vsauce 2 channel has kind of doing a lot of it's math, but it's shifted into this true crime.
Pivot.
It's not a pivot. It's an interesting direction.
Focus.
It's a
focus.
It's
right
a
now they're
good
focused.
Focus. How you doing with that? How are you liking that focus, Kevin?
It's been interesting, because for a long time we were just focusing on kind of paradoxes and math games and sort of recreational math concepts, and that was really fun and really interesting. But kind of with anything, at least with me, at a certain point, I sort of start looking around and feel like I have hit sort of the limit of whatever it is that I'm working on, and want to do something else. There were a few reasons. There were a few things I ran into doing that content that I got kind of frustrated with over time. One of which is just when you're dealing with conceptual ideas, a lot of people naturally just don't want to go there. They don't want to think conceptually. They think very literally. Especially when you're talking about math content, it's very kind of, literal and left brain.
Yeah.
So when you're mixing that with hey, imagine there's a genie and you have these two boxes, all of a sudden they're like, genies aren't real. This is stupid.
This genie, where would it even come from? That doesn't even work. How does that even, people, the literal crowd.
Yeah.
That actually show up.
People don't have the imagination for it. And I feel like the Vsauce 2 channel does a good job of explaining stuff out. So the one that sticks out in my mind, you were showing off with the big D12s, like the different ways that the dice thing that you were doing, showing off the big grid, and I was like, okay, I can follow along, I understand. So it's all these like sets and patterns. There's an old D&D book, the old Dungeon Master Guide, and there are pages and pages of tables and stuff that I tried to read through, and it just glazed my eyes over worse than I think I've ever seen anything in my life. It felt like I was looking at Chinese. But you see somebody actually explain it out in a video and talk you through it. And the whiteboard, the use of the whiteboard in the Vsauce channel, I always love. You do a lot. It's so cool to see somebody with good penmanship, too, because I have the worst penmanship. My penmanship.
No, you think my penmanship is good?
Oh, he told me last week.
Compared to mine, I could be a doctor.
He's got good whiteboard skills.
Oh, there's a skill and an art form to the whiteboard.
Well, now it's like you kind of did.
Skill.
Like when making a math murderer. I remember when that kind of switched. And I remember watching that going, okay, I am not a math person and this is not a girl joke. I'm not math-minded at all. I'm just like, okay, I have a calculator. That's all I need. Like figuring stuff out. Like if I lose a little, obviously it's like in math, if you lose one little step, like you've lost it all. Like that's it. Like good night. You're going to have to go back and do it again. But when it's something
you're never
like
have a calculator in your pocket everywhere you go.
I love how they said that too. They were like teachers like, come on now, come on, you got to admit you're wrong now. Every single teacher that said that, you're wrong. So but when you bring in something, maybe it's just another thing that's like my girl brain. When you bring in something like murder and true crime, it's like, okay, you have my attention. Let's go. So how do you relate now to like doing like the literal? I'm like, I just had like, see, I'm talking about math. So my brain is like, there's going to be comments about this. So when you've had the puzzles that you had before and getting to the bottom of it, and now you're explaining how math could wrongly convict somebody, like how is your audience taking that shift? How are they dealing with that?
I would say to mixed results, which is understandable. Whenever you change a format or even tweak a format, some people are going to be happy with it and some people aren't. So that's just the nature of sort of evolving with your content. But, I like it. I like it because of the reasons that you sort of elucidated is like I said earlier, I ended up getting kind of a little tired of dealing with people sort of being annoyed by the conceptual, and I thought, well, why don't we actually talk about real world scenarios instead? This isn't conceptual. Like this mom in the UK going to jail is not conceptual. It is real life.
Yeah,
this actually happened, and this terrible math that was used in the courtroom actually happened, and here's how it was used, and here's why it was wrong. So for that reason alone, I've found a lot more sort of satisfaction, I suppose, in these videos because it's eliminated being too thinky, which I think can be a bad thing. I think there is, as with anything, you could overdose on water. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Yeah, you can.
It's true.
Like too much of anything can be bad. And I think that too much thinky can be getting too much in the weeds. And sometimes you need to bridge a gap between sort of what people can understand in the real world and then bring a little bit of the conceptual sort of like into that rather than vice versa.
Be more inclusive to the smooth brains.
About the simple storytelling techniques. And it's not even so much that like the hero's journey. Everybody wants to see that hero's journey. Some people are going to want Dune. They're going to want the deepest, like, because Dune goes so crazy with all the weird houses and so much going on.
Rise and Fall videos do so well. Like people want to see, like, they want to see like an end game with that, and it's just kind of like, the bridging the gap, because there are some people that when you click on a video, like your brain is kind of already turned off. And some people are really they're wired that they want to figure it out themselves, but some people just go on there and they're just like, okay, entertain me. I do not want to think, you know?
Yeah, they're just eating lunch and like thinking about what they have to do the rest of the day, and it's just can be background noise. And yeah, sometimes when you make a video that requires like 100% crazy attention, that's gonna fill a niche, but perhaps, it ends there.
See, I feel like that's the you talk about the niche. That's where the TikToks and the shorts and the Instagram reels, that's where that kind of stuff comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to compliment Kevin on what he's been doing with that stuff. So it's a much more short form. It's a lot of him looking in the camera and then writing on a whiteboard, explaining something out. Very digestible, very easily explained. And it's so quick that if you didn't get it, it'll just replay again. And I think the Vsauce guys in particular have done very well with the short form content. Like that fits their brand very well. Hits all their notes that they need to hit. Excellent content. I can't blow enough smoke up Kevin's ass for that stuff.
Well, look, I really appreciate that, because that's another very controversial thing is the shorts. That
really
divides people. It divides people. Like people go really hard against short form content. Oh yeah.
I don't
there's
get
a lot
it.
of negativity surrounding it.
I think if you would have stopped doing longer form content and you just went to shorts, I can see people being upset. But doing shorts in between, it's fine. Like Wang does the same thing. Like he'll do tiny little snippets of these stories that aren't long enough to do a whole, even 12-minute video on. And they work great.
One,
and it's not like he's stopping doing longer form content. He's just doing like these little snippets. Why are people
more.
so? It's more content.
Just more content. Yeah.
Why are you being so picky?
But the thing of it is, I can't figure out why people aren't taking their short form content, mashing it all together into one like 30-minute video of, here's a compilation of all my shorts. If you want a long video, here it is. Here's 30 minutes of shorts.
Okay, that's almost like a clip show, though. I could see where people could get pissed off. That's like when you turn on The Simpsons. That's when you were a kid and you turned on The Simpsons, and then you were like so excited and you find out it's a damn clip show. I can see. But you can't.
Who didn't love?
No, but
Troy McClure walking out for The Simpsons 138th episode spectacular.
No, it was Paint the Wagon too. Like you think it's a whole
paint your wagon,
and then you find out it's a damn clip show. No, like, but you can't like advertise that. Like we have a new video out.
Simpsons. It's a clip show.
And then you find out it's like you click on somebody's video and you find out it's like it clips. Like you're bound to have a lot of pissed off people, and I'd probably be one of them. If you're saying, "Oh, I just uploaded a new video, go check it out." I see that on Twitter. It's like, all right, let's go. Oh, they're clips. Oh, fuck off. I can see how people would get mad at that.
You have to say 7 hours of weird stories.
Well,
or here's 30
that's
minutes
another
of
thing that
shorts
Wang
together.
did. Wang did the same thing. He does. He has
Angry Video Game Nerd's done it. Wang's
2 hours
done it.
of poop stories. That's amazing.
If you just want to, clean in the house, like, oh yeah, I'll have 7 hours of poop stories on. That's funny.
I'd like to do it eventually, but I do think it would be fun to do it as like super long like that. Just put all of them together.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that would be. It would be a while. I mean, I've done a lot of TikToks. It would probably be nearly. It would be over 3 hours. I think.
Oh,
I think it
yeah.
would be
over 3 hours of Vsauce TikToks.
Yeah.
People would watch it because, like, that's the thing about the short form. That's the thing about the shorts, the YouTube shorts. Even if you're just watching one channel, like you'll go to one YouTube short and then you realize like you've been watching stuff for like an hour and you didn't even realize it.
See,
because it
that's
just keeps coming at you.
If everybody right now who's into phone stuff, TikTok, look at TikTok. When you open up the app and plays videos, does not display your time. Most other apps will display the time at the top, not TikTok. Not Instagram. On my good boy Twitter account, you can do the same swiping of videos on there. Doesn't display the time on there. So it's a lot of the same stuff. But that's the idea, is they want you to stuck in that ecosystem to just keep scrolling forever and realize, oh my God, 4 hours have passed and I'm just watching shorts.
Mm-hmm. It's like the casino with no clocks. You know about that?
Manipulating people, yeah.
No windows, no clocks. You don't know what time it is. You're just gambling.
Yeah.
To some extent, I content creation is working people. Like, you are making content to manipulate people. I want you to watch this to learn something, or for me to tell you something. So having that in mind, like that makes sense. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Well,
I can't think of anything short form to do. Maybe that's just, I need to maybe do a little bit of that, but I can't think of anything.
Stand on your head, juggle, say a funny riddle, say a dirty limerick.
I looked into trying to do riddles, and they're actually so boring. Like if you look into those books, there are so many of them that'll be like 101 mind-bending riddles that maybe you might remember from the school library as a kid.
I do. Yeah.
If you look at them now, you read them and you're like, I don't care. Like, I really don't. Because I was like, well, this would be great content. Like, there's so many riddles. It'd be endless content. And I read them now and it's like Johnny, has 4 buckets, but he needs to, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make good content out of that.
Why is a raven like a
teaser.
writing desk? I don't fucking know. And it's like, if somebody doesn't either recognize the riddle, maybe sometimes like right away, they might get bored. Like in the 2 seconds going, oh, I don't know what this is. Next.
Right. And as soon as you learn the answer, you're just like, oh, whatever. That was lame. Like what?
Yeah, I wonder if a riddle is not... See, something I heard one of the Monty Python guys say was that he transitioned to doing silly songs because people would want to hear the silly songs again and again when he got up on stage. But if you just get up and tell jokes, it's like, we heard those jokes 18 months ago when you were here. F off, buddy. We don't want to hear that anymore. Oh, you're going to play the silly song? Oh, man, we can't hear that enough. Play, everywhere he goes, oh, can you play the silly song? Oh, please, the silly song. We want to hear it again. And it's like,
isn't that interesting? Why? That's very weird psychologically, but it's totally true.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, we
got to start writing some silly songs, guys. Get on it. That's the note.
That's right.
We'll hire Rusty Cage. He's good at the little silly songs.
Yes. Rusty Cage.
It's interesting you don't get tired of a song though, but you hear a joke more than a couple times. You're like, yeah, whatever.
I have a playlist on Spotify that has like the same 10 songs, and then I'll stray for a little bit and go, okay, let's go back to this playlist of the song that I've heard 200 times, like in the last week. I'm good. Let's go.
You don't even know. My trusty sidekick on Vsauce 2 and The Create Unknown, Matt Tabor, has a playlist of like 43 songs
and
or something like that.
And they're mostly terrible. Oh my God.
It's the only music he listens to. He just listens to those same 43 songs.
Outlaw country,
and he has an awful taste of music. God, sorry, Matt, but no, God, it's awful.
It's a lot of songs about the South rising again and how great things would be.
Okay, like he used to go to like Kenny Rogers concerts when he was like a kid. That was like their outing. And then he listens to Cherry.
When to hold 'em.
And then fucking Cherry Pie. Don't even get me started. I'm going to rant for 10 minutes on his awful music taste.
Do you guys know his St. Elmo's Fire story?
Oh, no. I don't think I've heard that one.
Refresh my memory. I probably have heard it.
This is one of my favorite stories. So he was listening to the St. Elmo's Fire song. That's like the theme from St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah.
I guess. That's one of his 43 songs on an airplane. So he's on an airplane. He's like really, really tired. He's just listened to the song on loop over and over and over again. And it's not until like hours later he realized that his headphones weren't connected and that it was playing for everyone in the plane.
Oh no!
Just blasting the St. Elmo's Fire theme. I can't believe nobody said anything for like hours, just over and over again on repeat.
Yeah, I remember that one now.
It's so great.
I think Matt
That's
just has.
Tabor.
He literally has just like the most barrage of just the most awkward stories you've ever heard.
Great stories. Yeah. I know.
Very well-traveled fellow.
Yes. Yeah. And weird stories. I know. I keep thinking that we should do a TCU episode that's literally just, all right, here's 3 Tabor stories, like maybe once a month. I think we could go a year with like a once a month, like a monthly, just here's 3 stories that you would think were made up, but they're true.
He told us
Most of the
one
best stories are like that.
when he had he ate something that came back at him and he went to like the squat toilet in some third world country and there's no toilet paper. There was nothing. And
he wiped with their money.
He didn't use money.
It's like, this is what I think of your money, pal. Your jabroni money.
I just told him in a group chat. I was like, Kevin talking about Matt St. Elmo's Firestorm, and he said, "God damn it, biggest asshole moment of my life."
Yeah. Could you imagine? No, we could do a whole episode just on like pooping in strange places. Stories. There are like 5 easily like 5 excellent stories just in that genre alone.
That's just, in case you guys didn't know, if you haven't listened to the other 37 episodes of our podcast, our podcast wouldn't exist without Kevin and Matt's podcast, A Korean Unknown, because that's actually like where I met Charles. Like we didn't I met him in that community, and like we wouldn't have started up like without them. So that's the lore, in case you didn't know. We literally wouldn't exist.
Yeah, so they would do hangout nights, and that was where I think it might have, if it wasn't the first time I come on, it was the second time on those hangout nights. I feel like it was the first night. Meet everybody, and I want to see what everybody's up to, and try to message everybody. I message Jenna and say, you're doing really good, Jenna. You're very funny. You got a good energy. And I was trying to get her to play D&D. I was like, why don't you come on and play D&D with us sometime? It's like, I don't know, D&D. I'm not a nerd. And it's like, okay, well, maybe something in the future.
I'm not very good at it, by the way. I was doing D&D. Yeah, so it's like I had kind of thought about doing this podcast, and I mentioned something about it to Matt. And it wasn't until like I was actually we were talking about Orlando earlier. I was on a plane ride home from Orlando, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start that. I think I'm going to message those guys, and I think we're going to try to get this started. And I did. And then I think we recorded like the next week, and it's like over a year later, and we're still
next thing
recording.
You know, old Jed's a millionaire.
No. No, if you're going into podcasting thinking you're going to be a millionaire, like we're not all Joe Rogan. What is his net worth, by the way?
Jenna, pull that shit up.
Oh, he's got a lot of money, but it's the same thing with any, online sort of creative entrepreneurial endeavor. It's like, it's the Pareto principle. There are a small group of people that sort of get the lion's share, but that's how everything works. So I don't think it's worth getting upset over.
I feel like a podcast pays out dividends in other ways. So you're building out the community, you're building out this back catalog of stuff that people can come and check out. Got all these clips of funny things. Like we could pull a 30-second clip of me imitating Wing. Hey, I'm just Wing. How you doing, guys? Something dumb like that, and that becomes the meme.
I think it's
like there's a lot of content to pull from with the podcast. So it's not necessarily the podcast day of release that's the thing. It could be 6 months from now, somebody goes, oh, did you hear about Vsauce 2? And then everybody goes back, oh, yeah, he said this thing like 6 months ago. Let's go hear what he had to say.
I don't know.
And it could be that sort of thing.
I think it's just one of those things. It's like, it's having time to do any of this. If you're doing anything online, it is going to be a crapshoot, and you can have the best, you can have the most well-made content in the world, and it doesn't mean that anybody's ever going to watch it. I know somebody, I'm not going to mention any names, somebody that's been doing consistent content like 2-3 times a week.
We've had people on the podcast
very high quality videos. Like, this person spends hours, but doing it consistently for like the last like 6 or 7 years, and has maybe like 700 subs. And that's one of those things where it's like, oh, you got to be consistent on YouTube. Well,
that feels like an advertising problem. They're not able to get their message out.
I don't know what it is.
Feels like to me.
I don't know what it is. And it could be like, oh, you got to be consistent to get in the algorithm. They sometimes barely break 200 views. So it's like, it's not always a consistency thing. A lot of the times it's just
maybe it's
luck
platform.
It's a luck thing too, because like this person has collaborated with bigger YouTubers and it doesn't do anything. It's a big crapshoot. And I feel like it's getting harder. I feel like it's getting harder. I feel like people who started 5 years ago it was easier than I feel like. I don't know. Is that true? Was it easier 5 years ago than it is now? I mean, I don't know. It seems like it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, Kevin's nodding his head yes.
Yeah.
I do think absolutely there's like an early adopter. And I would consider 5 years ago still within the range of being an early adopter. There's certainly a window for any major platform to be an early adopter and sort of get ahead. And then, people know you, and then sort of your content can almost be whatever. I mean, that's not entirely true. And it has changed a bit in some regard because, like, for example, subscribers sort of don't matter like they used to. Now it's really based on the algorithm, meaning like people don't go to like their homepage and see all their channels they're subscribed to and watch. They go to their homepage and all they see are videos related to whatever they've watched recently. So that has really changed audience behavior, and I think it's changed consistency on the creators, like consistency in views. So I do think that it's harder now. It's also just a numbers game. I mean, think about how many people are just making things now compared to before. When COVID hit and everybody was at home.
Yeah.
How many people stopped going to the office and were like, well, now I have all this free time,
and they didn't do anything with the time.
A lot of them did it, but I think even if just 10% of them did that wouldn't have otherwise, it creates more competition. And then with TikTok as well being ludicrously popular, like. Yeah. I'm not a big TikTok guy. I think, it's largely a generational thing, but the younger generation, that's what they use. They're not on YouTube. YouTube is like a boomer platform.
Yeah,
they're on
dinosaurs
TikTok
now. Yeah.
I mean, look at VidCon, which we just went to a few weeks ago.
I didn't recognize anybody walking through seeing those panels.
I wonder.
I remember I took a picture and I sent it to my niece and I said, "Who are these people?"
Does she know them?
She had to get her younger sister, and she knew who they were. The 9-year-old knew who they were. The 11-year-old did not. She goes,
"Oh my gosh,
interesting.
Don't know who these people are," and she knew who everybody was. And I said, "This whole con is infiltrated with them. I don't know who any of these people are. What the hell?"
See, I wonder because things online sort of come and go. There's a lot of boom and bust. So like MySpace. MySpace was the hottest thing in the world in 2006, 2007. By 2008, it's done. Just done. Dead platform completely. Yahoo was huge 20 years ago. Yahoo even tried to compete with Netflix 11 years ago.
Yeah.
They tried something like that. Oh yeah, they had Yahoo Screened.
Yeah.
That was their own thing, and they even bought the TV show Community. They got Community, gave it a whole new season of episodes, and within a year it was done.
Wow.
Like, just killed them. Like, they just... And I think they ended up selling to Verizon for some reason. I don't know why Verizon wants Yahoo, but I think that's what they did. Like, there's so many things that have come and gone. Like, the opening of Silicon Valley, that HBO show, shows all these companies, like, rising up their buildings and their logos and then just deflating down into nothing. I was like, that's sort of the way it goes. And I wonder, could YouTube be the MySpace? Could that happen?
I don't think so. No, I don't think I don't think that can happen. I think it can change though, and I think that it is changing. I think that TikTok being introduced and being so wildly popular has definitely changed YouTube's approach. They are really hard on shorts now, but it's not just YouTube. It's also Facebook and Instagram. Like Instagram is just turning into TikTok as well. And Facebook is kind of turning into TikTok as well, because TikTok unlocked what you were mentioning earlier, this idea of just opening the app and being absorbed by content until, you snap out of it and you eventually are unmesmerized and you realize like, oh my gosh, where did that last 25 minutes go?
Yeah.
that the other platforms never had that. They never had that. You know, Instagram, you would open, you scroll some pictures. Oh, here's my buddy. He's at the lake. That's cool. That's it. Like, that's not very exciting. It's not very addicting, I guess I would say. And same thing with YouTube. Like, YouTube is very like passive. Like, you have to willfully select a video that you're going to potentially spend the next, 10 plus minutes on.
Yeah.
And that's a very different experience. So it'll be interesting to see but YouTube will not go away simply because it is the video hub. It is the video hub for everything, whether it's music or how-tos, tutorials, or
that's
just
the constant
podcasts.
That's never gone away.
Yeah. Like, that's where everybody uploads stuff to, regardless of its power as sort of a content hub for original creations. Because look what happened. They dumped their funding for originals. They tried to do what you were mentioning with Yahoo, where it's like, yes, we will spend hundreds of millions of dollars and we will make our own premium programming with Kevin Hart and Will Smith and et cetera, et cetera. And that is almost completely dead now.
Yeah.
So, because they realized how hard it was, not only how hard it is to compete with the Netflixes of the world, but the Netflixes of the world are having a hard time.
They're failing now.
They just released a report that they lost like a million subscribers.
Yeah, because I can't find anything on there anymore. Paramount
like
app.
Netflix,
okay, is it just me
Netflix
or is the Paramount app really, really, really slow and really frustrating? I hate it.
The app sucks, but they got rid of my core shows that I liked on Netflix. I wanted to watch Twilight Zones. I wanted to watch Star Treks. And once you got rid of those, I'm going for Paramount, and I don't like the app. It's a very clunky app to use.
The app is awful. It's the worst app.
Beavis and Butthead are listed as having 2 more seasons than they ever had. Like, it's split up in a really weird way.
It's just slow.
But they have Beavis and Butthead.
The whole app is slow as shit. It's annoying. And then I get frustrating, and I'm like, I'm exiting. I'm going to HBO Max now. Bye.
Yeah, and they had Ren and Stimpy. There's Ren and Stimpy. But it's not all the Ren and Stimpy. It's really weird, the Ren and Stimpy on there. Like, I understand why they don't have all the good ones, but there should be an adult option. I should be able to click a button and say, yes, I am an adult and want to see Stimpy get the shit slapped out of him by Ren.
Oh, they removed them because they were too offensive?
I don't know if it's the violence. I don't know if it's the offensive stuff. Like the one with the haunted house where the little ghost is menacing them. That one's not on there.
Oh, that was my favorite episode when I was a kid.
If there's because it was the episode was 2 chunks. It was the haunted house one, and then there's the wrestling one was on there. So that's not on Paramount. Like I don't know what if it's a rights thing, like Beavis and Butthead, the one where they beat up the frog. They play frog baseball. They only have like
select episodes of Beavis and Butthead. They don't have the entire series. And
like the one where
did you watch the movie? The new one?
Yeah, I caught the new movie.
I liked it. Actually, really liked it. I thought it was cute. You're silent.
I haven't seen it.
You're silent.
I guess Charles didn't like it.
Charles didn't like it.
I liked it, but it's sort of like, it feels like we're just doing a lap around the same kind of stuff. But I enjoyed it quite a bit.
What do you think they're going to do with King of the Hill? Do you think it's going to be good when they bring it back?
Probably the same thing.
I'm nervous about that one.
Let's show Hank Hill dealing with pronouns and things like, what do you mean non-binary? I don't know what the incarnation that is.
That's what it's going to be. That one makes me nervous because that's like one of my all-time go-to like comfort shows. It's like that and Seinfeld and The Simpsons where I can just put it on. I already know I love it and I can just turn off my brain. That's like one of the top 3 go-to. So it kind of makes me nervous a little bit.
Real quick, did the Beavis and Butthead episodes have the music videos or no?
No.
Nope.
No. They didn't get the rights. They didn't get the rights.
You have to have
those were some of the best bits.
Videos.
Yeah. It was an integral part of the show. Plus it was integral to the pacing and the flow of the show. It would break up the skits when they would hop back and forth. Yeah. And I thought, and without that, because I remember I bought the Beavis and Butthead DVDs when they first came out like a billion years ago, and they didn't have the music videos, and it was weird,
disappointing
to watch
the
show. I was like, this is just the skits, basically.
Yeah.
The vibes are weird. Yeah, exactly.
There's something very important about a vibe and an atmosphere when it comes to content.
Yeah.
And you know it when it's off. Like you watch the movie The Thing, that's a movie with good atmosphere. Like there's just like a vibe to that movie throughout.
Well, that's what I was saying about Trigun. Looking at the trailer for the new the vibe for me is just not there. It's not the same.
Well, because the vibe was very dirty, gritty Western.
Very
dirt.
melancholy.
Think of dirt in the air all the time. That's Trigun.
Just sandy, everything. There's like no green, everything's dead.
Going into these dingy saloons and and he's like
crumbling buildings.
No donuts. They did not show him eat one donut in that trailer, and that pissed me off. I was like, nope,
I recall,
I'm out.
It was a very melancholy kind of show where it was all about violence as an answer to problems.
Yes.
Like you had the buddy who would pack the giant cross that had guns in it.
Yes.
And he had the two girls that were following him. And everywhere Vash went, like he would end up causing chaos just because
he's a little stinker.
It just sort of followed him.
And it had the best probably intro of any anime ever. The song is just like, so I'm nervous about what are they going to do with that too. It had that metal intro that is, it's beautiful. But at
some point Netflix will try a family-friendly Berserk movie, and it's not going to go well.
No. Okay. Resident Evil. Did you guys
Disney's
watch this?
Berserk.
Did you guys watch Resident Evil?
I watched 15 minutes of it, and then I started scrubbing through saying, where are the zombies? Where are the zombies?
Why is it so bad? I've heard it's just absolutely
so it's basically
horrible.
Like it's Wesker and his lab created daughters, and it's like high school scenes that we didn't need.
Also, Wesker looks nothing like Wesker.
Wesker looks nothing like Wesker. One of Wesker's daughters is a vegan, and she doesn't like the animal testing going on at Umbrella Corp, so she breaks in, and that's when you see the dog. Okay, we see the dog in that one scene, but pretty much that's the only thing. And this is new Umbrella City, and it's not old.
So there are no zombies in the whole show.
So, I only made it to the first episode. So did like the stuff in old Zombie City did this happen? And if it happened, why is Umbrella Corp still like going on? And why are they still Umbrella Corp? Why are they not going under a completely different name? Like, please make it make sense to me. So it was just another thing. Just don't touch video games. How about that? Don't touch video games for a season. Don't.
I wonder if zombie media has peaked. Will anything get as good?
It's old. It's old. I'm done with zombie shit.
The remake of Night of the Living Dead was so good, Jen. So good. And they cucked that too. Like he had so much more gore and crazy violence and stuff that he shot or tried to shoot that just didn't make it into that final cut. The MPAA was all over him on that one. But they changed some stuff in that one to where the Barbara character wasn't just like, completely lost and insane in the chaos of the Night of the Living Dead. I thought that was an interesting choice. And everybody loves Tony Todd. Like he oozes charisma in that movie. He's so good. So good. And I don't know, like can a zombie movie top the Night of the Living Dead storyline, that premise of
all the
a bunch of
zombie
people locked in a house with zombies everywhere?
It gets old.
Yeah, I think The Walking Dead really kind of ran it into the ground.
Big time. They're the ones. They're the ones for beating the horse dead. And
what killed The Walking Dead was the farting around. Was oh hey, we need to find a place to stay that's safe. Oh hey, this place isn't as safe as we thought it was.
That was the plot for the first like 5 years. Oh, this looks safe. It's Terminus. They're eating people. They're giving you meat. How did you not know this was people meat? Like, come on now. Okay, now we got to go find somewhere else. Well, the walls came down there. And they run out of that. They backed themselves into a corner. But now I guess they're gonna bring back Rick. Rick was dead. I have no idea. I'm lost and I'm done. It wasn't cool.
I quit reading the comic books.
It was cool in 2012.
Comics,
I loved it in 2011, 2012. Now I can't stand it because nothing's changed. It's boring.
I tell you, they did one of the towards the middle of the run. They had one. It was the kid from Everybody Loves Chris. He was on there.
He died
and
though, right?
That's what I'm saying. Is they had a scene where they kill this kid, and he's like 19, 20. And so it's the craziest scene I've ever seen in a zombie movie.
Everybody Hates Chris memes after that. I remember that.
Mad. he was in one of those turnstile, like hotel or bank door things, and the other guy didn't want to turn it the right way to let him out.
Yeah.
And the zombies ate the guy, and I was like, well, what? Who wrote this? This is just horrible.
I think I'm
this
just
is just
out.
mean-spirited.
I think shows. I'm tapped out of a lot of shows now. Like Better Call Saul, I think was pretty much that. Like Ozarks was pretty good.
It makes me think I should start writing shows.
I didn't like the way
the
that
worse
the Ozarks
that these shows
ended,
go, the lower the bar gets, Jen.
But
lower the bar worse. Let's see some more Resident Evils come out.
No.
Come on, guys, make some more crap.
Okay, make Resident
Let it
Evil
get lower.
Make
Once
Resident
it gets to
Evil,
a certain position, that's when
make
they
it
pull
like
Charles'
the game.
scripts out of a drawer and go, all right, let's dust this old crap off.
Give me cheesy dialogue. If you don't have,
I don't want cheesy. I want salt. I want salty dialogue.
You need the cheesy dialogue. Like keep it true to Resident Evil. We need the cheesy dialogue.
I want stuff like in the old westerns. There's a line in Unforgiven where Clint Eastwood, after he's executed everybody, he kind of pokes his head out with his rifle and says, anybody so much as takes a look at me, I'll not only shoot him, I'll come and burn his goddamn house down.
See, the thing is that I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, you don't have to. Because you
should watch that
Clint
movie.
Eastwood.
That's a movie is so good.
I only like Gran
That's a movie
Torino.
with complex morality.
I love that
like
movie.
we were talking about those old westerns and how simple the morality was. That one's a little more gray. Like there's a certain shift.
I like
somewhere
The
around
Unforgiven.
the High Plains Drifters,
I've seen The
in
Unforgiven.
the
I like
60s
that
and 70s. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there's so much in there that is, well, who's the bad guy? Who's the bad person here?
Yeah.
Is it Little Bill, the sheriff, who's just this prick who can't build his own house? You know, always blowing about how great he is and how wonderful a gunman he is, and then when push comes to shove, he's just a punk. Or is it the young buck who wants to go out for the we're going to go get this bounty, man. These guys, like, they cut up a girl, and we were so mean. But then you find out that, the girl laughed at him, and he pulled the knife on her. He freaked out because she laughed at his little pecker. And he tried to make it right by giving her ponies. Like, it's a whole thing. So,
there's actually, this is its own genre, and I just learned this, like, last week. It's called Revisionist Westerns.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. The later period of Westerns where it's a lot more. If you watch The Searchers is a little bit of that. Because John Wayne is not necessarily a good guy. Because he was fighting for the South. And he seems to really enjoy killing those Indians. Like at one point, Kevin, he shoots one's eyes out. And says, this may not mean much to me or you. And he puts the pistol away. But to him and his people, that means he's going to wander the universe lost forever. His soul's just out there. It's like, holy shit. It's one thing to kill a man. It's another to condemn his soul forever.
Yeah. The revisionist Westerns are the best ones because they're much more realistic. And like you said, they sort of explore, because the original Westerns are hokey. That's not, I'm not like really into those. They're super, super hokey. Like the white hat, good guy, black hat,
Lone Ranger,
bad guy. And there's usually a song around a campfire at some point. They're really cheesy, but the revisionist ones are so interesting because they do sort of explore morality in a time of lawlessness. And that's why that backdrop is so interesting, is because people do get away with murder, or like maybe like the sheriff actually is the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a lot more questions of, well, who's really right in this situation? Like,
maybe
is the
nobody
law even
is.
right? Yeah, that's the real horror of it is, oh, actually, we're all bad. And, that was one thing why I gravitated towards these Japanese role-playing games, because they explore themes a little differently than what a lot of the Western media was. There was a lot of, is God actually the bad guy in like Final Fantasies and the Shin Megami Tensei, things like that.
Yeah.
And there's
that's one of my favorite memes, by the way. Sorry to cut you off, where it's like JRPG starts by getting a loaf of bread, and by the end you're killing God. That's such a good meme. It's so
always
true.
starts that way.
Yeah.
There's a company that puts out like these tactics RPGs that have some of the craziest mood whiplash I think I've ever seen in something. And some of it's the presentation with the voice acting. It's very silly and wacky. But the Nippon Ichi, the NIS, those guys put out some of the weirdest games I've ever played on the PS2. So like the Disgaeas, the Makai Kingdoms, La Pucelle Tactics. That was one name that sticks out in my mind. The mood whiplash of those was so intense of just like, what is this game? Because the Makai Kingdom, you're playing as an evil overlord who's friends with all these other evil overlords. And like one comes in and he looks like the Final Fantasy boss, like he's like multi-tiered, like 3-headed thing. And it says in other realms, he would be the final enemy that they would face. And then he comes on and he's like super queeny and friendly, like, hi guys, how you doing? And it explores a lot of that, like what is good, what is evil, like who are we? And then
they
you're
mix
fighting corns.
silliness with like demonic imagery.
Yeah.
Really well. Yeah, those games are fun. The Disgaea, I played through the first Disgaea. I thought I laughed a lot more at that game than most games, for sure. It's
you can
very
make
funny.
time for Makai Kingdom. They just put it out on Switch. Definitely get a copy of that in front of you and take a look at it. Everybody out there, all real weird sickos. I'm talking to everybody. Such a crazy, weird game. If you're into anime and weird stuff and demons, like that's our people.
It actually is, though. Where's the lie on that? Where's the lie?
Yeah.
I just think, I don't know. I miss things like Blazing Saddles. Like, if we're going to talk about Westerns.
They're remaking Blazing Saddles, Jen.
Don't
It's going to
tell
be
me
cats
that.
versus dogs.
No, it's not.
What?
Stop lying
It's
to me.
a cartoon coming out. They're remaking Blazing Saddles with cats and dogs.
Stop it. No, they're not. Why are you lying
They
to me?
released an image of it. They're samurais.
Shut up. No, they're not. Okay, now you're trolling me. Stop it.
No, I'm not, Jen. This is real.
I'm like actually looking it up right now.
Yeah, we're all looking it up right now.
Okay, that's not going to happen.
Everybody listening is going, what's going on here?
Blazing Saddles
Charles is
remake
just
is
crazy.
happening as an animated samurai movie with cats. He's not
What?
kidding. He's
A
not.
cat comes into an all-dog town, right? Or a dog comes to an all-cat town, something like that.
God, no.
Yeah.
No. They're really doing
we are,
it.
We are out of ideas, folks.
Oh,
Or
God.
at least the people willing to pay money for ideas are out of ideas.
Just leave stuff alone. Leave that stuff alone. Come on. No.
Yeah, I'm looking at images of it now. Yeah, the dog comes to the all-cat town.
No. It is. You're right. Like,
Well, they call him a woofer? Like, what do they do? Like, what jokes do you do for little kids in a cartoon? Like, what is this cartoon? Like, this doesn't make any damn sense.
Paws of Fury. The Legend of Hank. I'm done.
Yeah, I feel like it's disgusting.
I'm now done with life. Just end me. This is
I'm
awful
done with
news.
life,
I'm
too.
so done.
I feel like
I'm not. I'm not a happy camper right now.
Yeah,
That
jokes and
actually
memes have become the same thing. Dogs and cats are living together. It's mass hysteria, Jen. Things have gotten to the point where everything's
Is
horrible.
the dog gonna come up to the cat samurai and bring him a pie and tell him about the up year's doggy? Is that gonna happen? Is that scene gonna happen? No, it's not.
Maybe he'll cross his arms and
You
and
will
do like
have
the
the
samurai,
decent.
like
You will have the
slicing
good
something.
decency not to tell anybody I spoke with you, right?
Maybe we'll just play chess.
Oh God.
Are they going to have like a Mongo dog punch a horse?
Yeah, that has to. He has to punch a horse. That's
You know,
the best.
Richard Pryor is the one who come up with Mongo, right?
Really? Did he
No,
really?
really?
I love
He was in the writer's room. He thought he was going to play the lead part.
Mongo like
And ended up
candy.
going to the other guy.
Yeah.
But he was in the writer's room, and Mel Brooks said that his big contribution was Mongo. Said Richard Pryor loved the character of Mongo and thought that was the funniest thing in the world. Mongo. Just laughing about Mongo.
It's a good character. I mean, you know,
he was correct.
he was like the he was the assassin. He just wasn't very bright, with a weakness for candy.
Jen, I got bad news. I think it's the end of the podcast. I think we're done.
Are
I think
we?
we're closing it in.
We're
I think
closing it in on a blazing saddles
Closing it in on
samurai
Blazing
note.
Saddles.
Oh God, envy.
Yep. Kevin, what do you got coming up? You got the Create Unknown podcast, Vsauce 2. Everybody like and subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got?
Yeah. A lot more Vsauce 2 coming up. A lot more. We have a bunch of great guests coming up on the Create Unknown. We have Drew Durnil. Then we have Nerd Writer. Then we have Rusty Cage.
Yes.
At the end of August, we have just booked Jay Schlatt, the one and only
Oh,
Schlatt.
that's going to be a good one.
It'll be a very good one. Love speaking
Just
with
had
that
on
man.
Psychic Pebbles. He was great.
Yeah. Those are always
We
bangers.
just had a
Every episode with him is always a delight.
always a delight. Our
Like,
favorite
you guys have
guest.
such a good rapport.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy. There's like a little bit of like same brain sort of thing going on with us and Pebbles, but it's nice. It's nice to feel not so alone sometimes. You're like, okay, at least there's like a third one of us out there.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you make friends in weird places. And you never know who's going to be your pal. And that's the beauty of a Discord, is that you get to talk to people, interact with people. And even, like social medias and things, like you can kind of talk to people and there's DMs. But the Discord, like actually talking to somebody and kind of getting to know them over a period of time, you get a feel of somebody. And there's not a whole lot of people who are going to laugh at ptomaine poisoning.
No, it's a very, very short
very
list.
specific joke.
Yeah.
But it has been a delight having you on, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Everybody
Thanks
stay
for having
real.
me.
Everybody stay sick. Everybody stay weird. And that is the podcast.
Bye-bye.